Hello and welcome to the first edition of Foreverland Workshops. This will be a series of events covered by Foreverland to educate developers on how they can build their products and host their applications through Foreverland. My name is Alan Mangeni and I'll be taking you through this first session. So on this session, we are going to look at a guide on how to host your applications or web decentralized applications through Foreverland. Thank you. Uh, First thing we'll look at is how the traditional way of hosting or deploying applications has looked like over the previous years. So there are some pros and cons to the traditional approach. So the traditional approach is basically the use of centralized servers and yeah, at its core, it's mostly the use of centralized servers to store your the information about your application, to deploy these applications. And one thing you can agree that is that it's fast. Since like the information is stored as a central point, it is easily retrievable compared to information stored across various which is distributed information. There is resilience, there is high performance, since like there is only a single point of maintenance, single point of upgrade. It also ensures that there's high performance of such application. Um, the thing is like there is that uh, persistent or rather persistent way of like storage of your information, but this applies to servers or rather data centers that like have do not store information at a single point. So this ensures that like even if there is a server failure on one side, there's always a backup to retrieve or to ensure that your application continues running. But the persistent storage is not really robust compared to how Web3 ensures that there is that persistent storage of information. The cons are that there is a single point of failure. So if from a centralized database or a centralized server, whenever there is like an issue with configuration or there is like a brief of security, many websites or many applications tend to break down, and it can take hours or even days to fix the issue. Then there is censorship of data. Uh, this applies mostly to maybe controversial websites or applications that maybe in a case do not cause any sort of violence or violation of human rights, but we may find that they are censored, which in return brings like just causes some sort of inconveniency. So when you look at this image, there is like the evolving face of the internet, that is Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. So Web 1, it was more of a read-only approach, where you could just view information on the internet. And then there's Web 2, which is read, write, and it is more of an interactive approach. So this is what we mostly have now. Like now there's LinkedIn and other frameworks. So now we come to Web 3, which is read, write, and trust verifiable. So in terms of read rate, you can read your data, you can edit your data, and like there's that form of trust in that like the data is stored at in a decentralized manner, and there are some mechanisms to prove that your data is actually is actually stored. Like there are like some cryptographic proofs or computations, like for Filecoin's case, to verify that information is stored in the decentralized web. So now we'll look at how Foreverland works. So Foreverland is a cloud computing, is a decentralized cloud computing platform that offers a computing architecture, storage architecture, and gateway architecture. So when it comes to computing architecture, there is the integration with public chains to achieve interconnection and interoperability between multiple chains, helping developers improve development efficiency and to better enjoy the resources of the ecosystem. So this computing architecture bundles up the frameworks in Web3. In that lake, you can write your maybe smart contract or your application once and deploy it to several blockchain frameworks. Then there's the storage architecture. That is, so Everland is compatible with open protocols such as IPFS. It uses SOM technology to form a huge storage network of nodes and relies on node collaboration to achieve persistent storage of data. So by like leveraging on these decentralized storage protocols, uh, 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 it basically allows users to deploy their applications to the decentralized web. And Foreverland, like as seen here, uses some technology. So this simply creates like a huge pool of storage network of nodes to ensure that also the data is stored persistently, and there there is also a reduction in like point of failure. And if you look now for IPFS case, if let's say you are running a local node and yeah, on your computer, and it's connected to like the IPFS network. In the event you switch off your computer or you turn off your Wi-Fi, the node automatically gets disconnected from the network. But now with Foreverland, by using that some technology and creating that huge storage network, your data is available consistently. So this ensures there is like uh, a single point of there is no single point of failure, and persistent access to your data. Then there is now the gateway architecture. So for Everland Gateway helps users to access the nearest storage provider. Developers can quickly identify safe and reliable global acceleration based on Foreverland's simple configuration. So the gateway architecture offers like a simplified way to access like these applications hosted on the decentralized web. So for example, like since you deploy application on IPFS, like there is that IPFS hash which is generated. Now with that IPFS hash, like it's not directly accessible via these traditional web browsers, like for example, Chrome, Microsoft Edge. There's Brave supports access or of like IPFS domains, but now by using a gateway architecture, it makes it easier to view your applications like on the decentral on like normal browsers. So what can you host on Foreverland? There are you can host decentralized applications. So for decentralized application, this applies like to the case of uh, uh, applications that run on the blockchain. So basically, your application will be the front end of your application can be hosted on Foreverland, and the back end can run like on a blockchain network like Ethereum, Binance Smart Chain. Then there's websites. So websites are normal like websites or it can be as simple like as HTML, uh, HTML based websites. There's web applications. Foreverland supports like frameworks like React, Ember.js, Next.js, uh, which are commonly used to build applications and front ends. So for hosting, think I can share a screen to can view like how the hosting looks like. So on this screen, like it's the dashboard, it's the main dashboard uh of like when you go to maybe deploy your application, other activities. So in this dashboard you can see there's an overview, there's hosting, there's like the buckets which you can upload, retrieve files. Their files are stored on IPFS, but this is a topic for another day. Then there's the plan you can choose. There's a free, pro, business and custom version. So for now, we'll look at like an overview. So here we have like the applications that I've hosted on for Everland. So this is a simple, rich sample React app. We will just take a look at this one. So for this React app, you can see the overview, you can see the deployments, you can see the commits, and you can see the settings. So the overview is basically shows like the image of your application, the landing page of your application. Then there's the domain, there's the state of the application, whether it is successfully deployed, the date that it was first created, then a link to verify that the application is stored on IPFS. So then the branch. Then the deployments, it shows like the previous builds, the previous deployments that have been pending on the application. So this is also the commits, the date, dating which the commits or the changes you made to the application. So when you go to settings, you can see there's a general point in which you can find the project name, you can change it. Then there is the build configuration. So for Everland's case, it automatically detects the type of application you wish to build. Um, so for our case, it's a React app. So when I was deploying it for the first time, it was actually automatically detected. So there's the create React app, then there's npm, the build command that is npm run build, then the output directory. So when you run npm run build, it generates that build directory. So this directory used to deploy the application. Then there's that install command if like uh, required to install npm every time you run your application. So that's how it looks for the general settings. Then there's the domain. You have an option to add a domain. For example, for everland.org, then you'll be, once you add, like you'll undergo some verification processes to ensure that the domain is well configured and points to your website. There's the Solana naming system, then there's the Ethereum naming system. So you can, if you have a domain from such uh, 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 blockchain frameworks, you can add them. So Git, for this case, like it shows the connected Git repository and the production branch. So that is the main, for our case, the main branch. You also have an option to deploy hooks. Then there is like uh, the environment variables. For our case, there isn't really, we do not require maybe specific variables to deploy our application. There is another option for advanced, the directory listing. statistics, and an option to delete your project. Then there's also statistics, and for this case, if you look at the rich sample React app, it shows like the number of users who have viewed the website, the total unique visitors, and the page views over time. So you can view like in detail the analytics based on date, the new users. Uh, so you get all that analytics, which is important information. Let's say you're a business, you wish to monitor um, your website or your web application to ensure there's like consistent growth. So Foreverland offers this suite in which you can view the people who are interacting with your application. You also have an option to view refers, the browsers people are using, the devices, desktop or mobile operating systems, which I think it's very cool and important information. So it's very detailed analytics to help you understand where maybe you can make improvements to your application and other activities. So there is also an option for to where you can like earn rewards. So maybe deploy rewards, domain rewards, adding custom rewards, invite rewards, viewer rewards. So all these can be accessed on the Foreverland dashboard. So aside from using the dashboard to deploy your application, you can also use a command line interface. So I'll just share my screen because the documentation part, then we can go through and see like a demo on how you can achieve that. So here is the page for installing and configuring the commands to deploy your application. So the first thing you need to do is install a npm package. So this is like the package that is required now to build or to set up like your Foreverland deployment process to the CLI. The next thing is to view the version. So Forever hosting version, you'll see whether it's an updated or updated version, and this is important information to ensure we are not using an outdated version that may be vulnerable to that may be, yeah, may be vulnerable or may not be secure enough, and it may cause like performance issues. Then once you check the version, you can log in to your hosting account, and when you enter this command, you'll be required to enter a token. So this token can be accessed on your dashboard. When you go to settings, you can access like that authentication tokens. So you access the tokens and paste it now after clicking on Foreverland hosting Forever hosting login command. The next thing is to deploy your project. So the project can be done by Forever hosting deploy. Uh, so for this case, I think I'll just jump into the repository, and you can look at how you can deploy your application on Foreverland. So here is an example repository. So this is a to-do application that is built in React. So the first thing we'll need to do is like from the documentation, install the npm package. Then we'll also view the version to ensure it is the latest version. So that's the first, they currently have the first version. And now we can log into our application. So here we'll just enter the authentication token. I'll just retrieve mine where I had saved it. Paste my token. And once the login is successful, you can proceed to deploy your application. So the command was forever deploy. So you have an option to create a new project or select an existing project. So here we just select an existing project. And then let's see, there's an option for sample Ethereum React app, reach sample React app, and to do forever test. So this is the application we are currently using. Then enter the output path of your project. So our output path is this build folder. So we just put others build, and the application will be successfully deployed. It's really simple. Yeah. And yeah, that's how simple it is to deploy your application through the CLI and also the dashboard. So if you're looking for a simple approach to quickly deploy an application, you can use that process. And now this marks the end of my stream. So this was just a guide on hosting your application on 4EVERLAND. In case of any question or any inquiry, you can join 4EVERLAND's Discord server, and there's the dev discussion channel, and we'll be able to converse more on, maybe you may have an issue or you may wish to see an existing improvement on the uh, on 4EVERLAND dashboard or the CLI commands. So that is the best place to address your issues. Thank you.